Hi everybody, Don Giannatti here. I posted processed view of this image up on Facebook and had a few people email me and ask how I did it because I also posted this before image. This was taken at a little lighthouse up in Maine on a trip that I did there, and it was taken by me holding my camera way down on the ground and shooting from literally right on the ground, so I couldn't really see through the camera. I had to sort of level it by eye, and as you can see, it's a little bit crooked, and you can see it's also a little bit, well, boring. I thought that I could underexpose it, but underexposing it doesn't really make it richer. It just sort of makes it more boring. Because all of these dark tones in here where a lot of interest is texture-wise just simply goes away. So if I bring down the exposure to get some nice little peach kind of sky there, it was really a lovely, very soft sunset. Then we lose all of this in here and it doesn't make sense anymore. I took the picture a couple years ago and it's really stuck with me. It's something I'm always thinking about, this picture. And just a few days ago, I realized that there was something in this picture that I could pull out. I just had to rethink my lighting on it. So we have a lighthouse down here, and possibly I can create a light source, a feeling of a light source down here to draw the eye back in to that area. So I'm going to make it lighter back here, letting it come out forward like a reflection, maybe a reflection of the bright sky up here to give a little bit more interest here, and also to exaggerate this feeling of side light, because our sun is coming from this direction over here, and I wanted this to be lit up. It's kind of got a nice natural fall off here, and I'm going to use that, as you'll see, as I piece this thing together. One of the things that I do these days for almost all of my shots is I use a film emulator that I got from RNI, and I either use the Portra 160, the Kodak Gold 100 here, or the Kodak Ektar. Not always, but quite a bit of the time, because these are the films that I can currently shoot with in my analog cameras, and so I would like to keep things kind of the same overall. So I'm going to see which one of these does a better job. The Ektar, for me, I've always liked Ektar. It looks pretty good. Let's try the Gold 100. Now that's just kind of more of the boring there. Let's go on down to the Portra. The Portra doesn't, it's got a little bit more warmth to it, but it just doesn't work as well for me on this particular shot as if I had shot it with the Ektar. So the Ektar has this nice peachy glow through here, nice blue, and helps keep my images consistent, because I start out here, just like with a negative. I start out with this color base on all my photographs, one of these color negative bases. Now, if I was doing the whole Maine shoot, like I just recently did, I went through and took out about 12 shots. I did the Ektar 100 on all of them. So when they're all viewed together, they have kind of a very similar color palette, which I very much like. Well, this picture's crooked, and that drives me nuts. So it's out of order on Lightroom, but I have to go in and fix that first. Otherwise, that's all I ever see when I'm working on it, is this crooked lighthouse down there. And I think that's about right. Let's take it just a bit more. Yeah, right about there. Okay, so now I've gotten rid of that bugaboo. Boy, I'll tell you what, if when I see pictures that are just slightly off like that, drives me nuts. If you're going to tilt the horizon, tilt it. Do it. But, you know, being off by 2 degrees, that's just wrong. you screwed up. So let's just go through the basic work that I did here. I'm going to bring down my sky, bring the exposure down just a bit. Just about like that. All right, then I'm going to come down here to the bottom. I'm going to drag it up, and that's too dark for me down here. I'm going to brighten that back up like this. Let's bring it up just a little more like that. There we go. Highlights, I'm going to bring those highlights up. See the wood grain there? I'm going to bring that highlight up, bring that wood grain up just a little bit. Bring up the shadows just a bit. Whites, no, I think I'll just leave those where they are. And the blacks, I think I'll take those down just a little bit. That's in this foreground area. So now the shot looks much better than it did, but it's still a sort of dark, naked lighthouse down here, and it doesn't have the full effect that I wanted it to have. So I'm going to grab my brush and go down here. And by the way, do you see this little blue starting to come out there? That's the reflection of the ocean around this lighthouse, the blue coming up, and I just think it's lovely. So I'm going to start there. I'm just going to brush this right down through here, and then over here, right down through there. It's a little bit too bright for me, so I'm going to take it down just a little bit. There we go, just enough to see it. I want that feeling of that blue reflection. Now, it doesn't happen down here because over here we're on land. Just right out there, angle of incidence, angle of reflection. It's always important. I'm going to grab that brush again and come in and brush the lighthouse itself. Take the exposure up. Make my brush a little bit smaller. Come down in here, right around that door. Oops. Move that back up. There we go. Come up to the areas above it here and get some detail back into that part of the structure right up there. Now we have kind of a much more of a feeling of the lighthouse being lit. I want to get a little light around the lighthouse here, so that I can have a feeling of reflection of that lighthouse coming forward. That looks pretty good to me right in there. Yeah. Yep. I'll say done with that. All right. Now, I want to lighten up these boards. I want to give these boards a feeling of brighter reflection of the sky and a little bit lighter tone. So I'm going to grab my brush again, and I'm going to hit O. And when I hit O, I can see where I'm painting. And I'm going to paint this deck. This is always fun, isn't it? To sit and watch a video of somebody painting red. It's like painting the roses red. Yes, that's what we'll do. We'll paint the roses red. Make it a little bit smaller so I can do this edge over here without it going off and messing up my edge. My mouse is really not liking this new mouse pad thing that I got. Not liking it at all. And I wish I had not started this video with this new mouse pad, but yeah, I know I'm supposed to be using a tablet. I don't use a tablet. I have a tablet. It's sitting right over there. I can see the top edge of it with its little eyeballs looking at me saying, why don't you use me? Because I don't have enough time right now to learn how to use you, Mr. Tablet Dude. I just don't. I may someday soon, but right now I don't. Hit O again. And now I can bring my exposure up. And I can bring my contrast down a little bit. And I can bring my clarity up. I can get a little bit more snap to that surface there. There we go. Done. We're starting to look a little bit more the way I liked it. And you remember I put a lighter on this back here before I put the new one over, so it does get a little bit brighter up towards the lighthouse itself. The whole shot's going to get a little bit of clarity now that I've got the clarity in the wood. I just want to make sure I can do that, and some vibrance there. That looks pretty okay. What happens if I bring that sky down again, right about to there, and I drop it even more? Much better. I want the pinks, this peach, to really pop, so I'm going to lower the red. I'm going to bring some more orange in. I'm going to bring some more yellow in right above it, so it's just a little bit more colorful. And if there's any magenta in there, I'm going to pop it out as well. So I've really sort of presented that color back there nicer. It's a little richer. I'm going to now pop on down to the vignetting, add just a tiny bit of vignette, and we have an image that looks pretty close to the way I want it to look. Now I'm going to pop it over into Photoshop. I use Nik occasionally in Photoshop. I like Nik. I have the entire Nik suite. I think I use the Pro Contrast. Just about the only thing I do. All right, I'm going to add a new, actually I'm going to copy this layer right here, and then I'm going to add a new layer above it at overlay, and I'm going to choose my brush, white, at, I'm going to make it 10%. There we go. Now with this this overlay, I'm just going to tap this in here to have this feeling of light emanating from the lighthouse up here. And then I'm going to do something a little bit different. I want that glass up here in the lighthouse to appear brighter, so I'm just going to brush it with this lighten layer just about oh, by the way, I need to name this layer. Always name it. I call it lighten, I don't call it dodge. I'm going to bring it out here just a bit. Kind of blend it right through there. Then I'm going to give this little guy a highlight right in here. To accentuate the brightness, give me just a little bit more contrast by bringing that bright up. And then we've got that blue reflecting from the sky there. Same thing over here. We've got the blue reflecting from the sky. I'm just bringing it up a little bit. All right, so now I've got kind of a feeling of the light. I'm going to try something just for fun, so bear with me here. I'm gonna go in there and grab, those are binoculars. All right, that's fine. All right, so pretty simple so far, wouldn't you say? I think it's not a whole lot of adjustments that we've had to do to really have a difference here. So I'm going to go to hue and saturation, and I'm going to saturate the image just a little bit. Oh yeah, right to about 20. 20 looks good. Off, on, off, on. We get a little bit deeper blue, we get a little bit deeper oranges and reds back there, and we have a feeling of a much more created image. And it's just a little lighthouse. You saw where we started and where we ended up, and I hope that you guys got some ideas from the video as well. So this is a simple one. Sometimes they take a whole lot longer than this, and sometimes I'm kind of happy with where they are. Now, just for fun, I'm going to go up to create a new layer, and I'm going to go to my color lookups, and I'm going to upload a moonlight. That's pretty cool. Night from day. That's very cool. I kind of like that. It might be a little heavy. I could dial it back. That's kind of old-time camera looking thing to it. This is the Kodak 5218 is one of my favorites. 5205. Yeah. I think I'm gonna save that right there. That looks good. Now I'm gonna take that layer, turn it off, and on, and off, and on, and I'm going to lower the opacity down to about 45%. So it just sort of pops that middle out and brings the color up. So that's how I played with the lighthouse shot and recovered an image that really didn't work on my little trip back to Maine, and got an image that works so much better. So I hope you enjoyed it, and that's it. Thanks.